Hey everybody, it's the Modern Geek, also known as Fant Mario, and we're back with another Geeking Gaming Heaven video. I couldn't help myself. I got myself more Lorcana packs. So I'm going to see what we can pull. I mean, we're going to jump for it since they are available in stores. They are around. Why not take advantage of this while it's available? So we got more Chapter 1, more Floodborne packs. We're going to see if we can crack open some Enchanted. And then we're going to jump right into painting. I want to do a majority painting video tonight. This will probably be the last time we see Lorcana for a little while. If you guys want to see me do Lorcana-based videos, please let me know. I can start doing some deck building ones and things like that. And I'm more than happy to do those types of videos. Because I think you guys are enjoying it. I love that some of you are also finding Lorcana through checking out with us and doing. I'm going to try to have a drink with me so my voice kind of stacks up. My priming pile of models is starting to get really bad. So I need to definitely spend a little time on the priming train. So we can start to really get through a lot of these custom models for the multiverse campaign, and as promised, show off a little bit of more of the space orks. I yet again organized my drawers again, so all of my painting goodness and supplies are a lot better and more accessible. So we'll be able to get some goodness. Hopefully we'll get the camera stuff and other things, but I would say let's jump at it. Sorry we're a little late. I was trying to hit for 11 o'clock, but had some unexpected residual birthday wishes and stuff like that. So I had to take an impromptu call, and it pushed my schedule back a little bit, but we're back. Hopefully folks will jump in and pop in when they can. I'm sort of testing the waters and seeing what nights are good nights. It's going to be interesting. Possibly tonight might not be a great streaming night. I don't know, but we'll see. I know it's New Year's Eve tomorrow, so I don't know. People are kind of banking up, saving up. We'll kind of see. We'll kind of see what it's like. Probably won't. I don't think we'll be streaming tomorrow night. I'll be back on Monday, New Year's Day, but I don't know if we're going to stream on Sunday night. Just because if we have any festivities or if I'm part of anything, that might cut into that. So for folks that are curious, we are a gaming channel. I should start doing formal intros to this, but we do all manner of gaming. TCG games, I focus mostly on Magic and Lorcana. And then, of course, model stuff. We go the gamut: Warhammer, Marvel Crisis Protocol, Mantic Games, lots of indie companies as well. I love supporting indie companies and their endeavors. So I am a huge supporter of those things. Hold on one sec. Let me get my stuff up because I feel like. So I want to make sure our stream was actually working, and we had stuff rolling correctly. Because Streamlabs, especially, I love it as a program. I always think that it's telling me wrong information for viewership, but I'm definitely going to be retooling and revamping a lot of stuff. And it's interesting. Last night, a lot of people were like, "Are you going to bring back your personal cam?" We're going to talk through that. We're going to see if I can do that. Like I said, the situation is things are set up a little bit differently than they were before, so I don't know if that's feasible. But all right, let's jump into it. So again, we got Lorcana Chapter 1, and I call it Chapter 2, but I think it is actually called Rise of the Floodborne. I don't think it's actually considered Chapter 2. I think the way that Lorcana is running their stuff, and I think that's a misnomer that I kind of started on the last video, or many of the videos I've done. I think the chapters are the core sets, and then they're gonna do like block sets. So similar to Magic, they're gonna do like Rise of the Floodborn and Into the Inklands, which is this sort of subsets, and then like you'll have a core set like Chapter 1 or Chapter 2 happen. So we're gonna open up some packs first, and I'm gonna jump right into our painting projects because I couldn't resist. I had to get more. It's a problem, but we're gonna stop after these. We're gonna take a break. We're gonna let Lorcana kind of percolate and sizzle for a little bit. But you know, like I said, while they're here and while the inventory is hot, I want to make sure I get my hands on as much of it as I can before it is no longer. So we will be painting models. I do not want you to run away. Please don't run away on the channel. We are here. We are going to paint stuff. And if you're first time or a returner, say hi. Let me know you're here. All right, so Rise of the Floodborn, let's jump in. And since I've done so many primers of like Lorcana, I always give like a little spiel about Lorcana before we start opening up packs. If you would like more info, just shoot questions into the chat. I've explained the game quite a bit. But if you want more goodness in your heart, let me know. So let's see what we get our first pack. So big things we're hoping for in these packs is Lonely Beast, the Lonely Hero Beast, so like the big pull card for the set, or Enchanted Rares. Enchanted Rares are always going to be our big take. There's some $10 cards here and there, but actually, funny enough, a lot of the high price cards, I actually have most of them as playsets already, so there is not much that I could get that would really get me going crazy. So Rapunzel, Kuzco, Peter Pan's Dagger, Enchantress. I would love to get more foiled Enchantress. I love the art on this card. Duke of Wesselton. We talked a lot about him last night. Ooh, Magic Brooms. I need more of these. It's a common card. And we have the uncommon Rapunzel, Gifted Artist. Fang Crossbow. Card Soldiers. And again, I'm awesome at pulling this witch. So we did get an epic. It is the Queen as the old hag. Oh, that's a good pull. So King Arthur is another decent pull from this set. So I did want to pull him. So I'm so happy. Back-to-back epics in one pack. Let's get, oh Jesus, it's gonna happen, guys. One of these days. Get a little twinkle magic star for that. Oh, and we got a foiled rare, foiled Pete. I saw the foil. I got really excited. I thought we had pulled, in fact, an enchanted. But I'll take a foil rare. Foil rares are always good. I will be replacing this Pete because I actually have, I think, a playset of Pete's. So I'll be definitely replacing this with one of my Pete's because it's foiled. But not a bad start to the first pack we opened. Two epics and a foiled rare. So we got 3 rares out of that pack as opposed to the normal 2. I should mention that they do 2 rares a pack, similar to kind of the Pokemon structure. We have Panic, James. Now, if Eudora is behind this, ooh, not this time. Every time I open James, that card is always the card that follows it. The Queen, Croquet Mallet, Peter Pan Dagger, Cinderella, Rapunzel. It's a very similar pack. Madam Mim as a snake. The Most Diabolical Scheme. Oh, I did need one more Goofy, but it is definitely not the rare I wanted. Such a bad card. Such a bad card. It's 9 ink. I mean, I guess you can knock it down with other cards. I mean, he does quest for 4. He is inkable, though. So, like, The one thing that is pretty good about him is he's an inkable card. So if you really can't get to the 9, you could just throw him into the inkwell. So he kind of like doesn't clog your hand. And like I said, if you have other guys there. Ooh. We got Grand Papi. So another epic. That's 3 epics so far we've pulled. And oh, that's a cool card to get foiled though. You can fly. I love the artwork on this card. So to get it foiled, I'm actually not that mad about that. We're opening up Lorcana packs, and then we're going to paint some Space Orcs. This is just a appetizer to the main event. We're going to go through these really fast, though, because I only got a few packs, so... I mean, we already opened... Wait. Why do I feel like I should have more packs? Ooh, I think I lost some Lorcana packs. 2, and then did I get 3? Oh, wait a minute. I think I'm missing some Floodborne packs. Oh, that's not good. Alright, we're gonna figure this out, guys. Chip the Teacup. Mulan. Arthur. I love the artwork on that card. Basil. There are so many Basils in this set. Rapunzel. We're getting a lot of Rapunzels. Ooh, I like the artwork on this Jafar. Nick Wilde. You Can Fly, so we got it again. Pick a Fight. Ooh, we got Shere Khan. I think I might have just given away something. Oh, did I just see what I think I just saw? So Shere Khan, awesome rare. Oh boy. Weight set, which we've gotten before. Oh, I thought for a minute. Oh, I thought there was an epic behind there. It is a foiled Happy though. So for my Princess Dwarf deck, that'll be cool. All right. I'm pretty happy with the Shere Khan. Now we almost have a play set of Shere Khans. Did I only do 5? I'm sorry, guys. I apologize that I'm like pausing. So what would 3 be? 3 times 7. 21. 21, and then that would have been 4 times 7, which would have been 12, 20. No, something's off. I think there are 2 more of these that I'm missing. Because I've only opened... Hold on, let me take a look. 1, 2, yeah, 3 packs. I've only opened 3 packs. So I only got 5? I could have swore I got 7. And I feel like I'm missing... I must be missing Lorcana packs then. So are they in that second bag? Oh, I hope we didn't throw it back. Alright, anyway. Oh, see, I'm losing people because I'm not painting. I love opening these packs though. There's no channel for them. Alright, let's go quick. Alright. We got Kuzco. What Did You Call Me? Improvise. Cruella de Vil. Piglet. Donald Duck. Both Donalds next to each other. Interesting. Donald Duck, Perfect Gentleman. Sardine Can. Another Rapunzel. Grand Duke, which is not a great card to get because he's in the intro deck. Oh my god, I have so many of these Peter Pans. and a Popsicle. Not what I'm looking for, guys. I mean, the rares were pretty good because they are filling in some gaps, but... Alright, last Floodborne pack. Last chance to get an enchanted on the Floodborne side of things. Alright, starting off with Winnie the Pooh. I love the artwork on that card. I say it every time. Minnie Mouse. Hypnotize. The Knock. This is the Snow White that removes 2 damage counters from each person. Charge. Madam Mim. Most Diabolical Scheme. Oh, I love this Jafar. I love the snake. Pinocchio. Don't have him. Good rare to get. Habershon. Not a good rare to get. Ugh. And Painting the Roses Red. So not a great showing from our last shot there. Definitely, I mean, I am impressed with the amount of epics we pulled. I mean, out of 5 packs, we at least got 3 epics, right? Technically 4 epics. So we almost got an epic in every pack. We got 1 foiled rare. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 rare cards out of 5 packs. So we came ahead 1 more rare than we should have. Oh, no, I'm sorry. 11 rares out of 5 packs. Yes, that is right. So pretty good. The Arthur was a good pull, but not the biggest amount of cards we've gotten. Oh, I don't know why I put these on the side. All right, let's get Chapter 1 open. Chapter 1 is where I have more high hopes. And we've talked about this before, but Chapter 1 is the place where you can get more of the higher yield cards. There's still more cards in Chapter 1 that are pretty decent value. Because Floodborne is not the most like anticipated set. Some of it adds to the game, some of it doesn't. So, but I could have swore we got 7 Floodborne packs, but maybe I didn't get 7. Elsa. Control Your Temper. Maleficent. Ooh, there's some print errors on these cards. Or they're just like dusty. They're actually like dirty in the pack. That's really weird. Tinkerbell. Magic Golden Flower. Another Tinkerbell. Cheshire Cat. I love the artwork of the Cheshire Cat. It's the partially disappearing Cheshire Cat. Belle. Maximus. Ooh, good rare right out of the back. Stitch Rockstar. An epic right out of our pack. Ooh, double epic. We got a genie in this pack. Woof. And a foiled Plasma Blaster. So we are literally doing... I got the same pack distribution that I got in the first pack I opened. Wow. 2 epics and a foiled rare. That's exactly what our first pack on the other side was. That's insane. But the Stitch Rockstar is a good one. Now, if I got the epic Stitch Rockstar, that would have been amazing. And the genie, I actually do have an epic form. Or epic. Enchanted rare. I keep saying epic because of magic. Goofy. Hee Hee. Freeze. Vicious Betrayal. Donald Duck. Prince Eric. Starkey. Fan the Flames. Oh, it's coming. Anna. Ooh, Mickey. I do have a full playset of Mickey as a musketeer. Ooh, Moana. And a foil Jasper. Not a good pack. Definitely not 2 rares I needed. Moana. I mean, that is nice. Because now I can give... I'm going to keep that Moana. Any princess I get a double of, that's going to be a keep for my daughter. She's going to get all the princesses. But yeah. Phil. Minnie Mouse, Dinglehopper, Archimedes, Tinkerbell, which we saw in another pack, Break, Goofy. So if I was doing a draft, this would actually be a pretty decent pack. And Donald, so you actually have all 3 Musketeers. Rapunzel, not the Rapunzel. I do want the Rapunzel in this set. Ooh. Okay. Wait a minute. Wait a minute. Wait a minute. Oh, I've never gotten this scar before, I don't think. Shameless Firebrand? Shift 6. When you play this character, ready your characters with +3 or less. Oh, you can ready all of them, so you can quest with all of them and then ready them? That's insane. Captain Hook, terrible rare to get. And a foiled freeze. Alright, last Lorcana pack. Last chance. Okay, I've never gotten that scar before. Did I just never get that scar the whole time I've been opening up Lorcana packs? That's crazy. Alright, I'm gonna go along with the journey with you. Wow, why are these is this dirt or is that there's just dirt. There's like dirt inside the cards. It's so weird. Maleficent, yeah, there's like super amounts of dirt. I wonder if this is the printing. Oh my god, they're like dirty. Why are they all like, why are all my cards dirty? Peter Pan, Phil. Oh my god, there's like clay in these cards. What? Are you guys seeing this? So there's like, I think if you like wipe them with a cloth, you can get it all off, but what I'm gonna guess this is that I think when people are printing cards, they'll put like chalk, or they'll put like they might have like dust. It's like dust got on the printing press. There's like dust and dirt on the back of these cards. They're all damaged. Oh, I wonder if this is something. Let me keep this pack away. Maybe I can call Ravensburg. I wonder what they're like because Magic used to be pretty good. But Mini, because there's like damage on these cards. Dinglehopper, this is upsetting. Do not tell me I get a really good card in here. Kristoff, Smash, Dragonfire, Sven. Okay. Oh, no, don't tell me. Oh, it's perfect. Oh, thank God the Mickey is perfect. That's a good hit. The Mickey is a good hit. The Stitch, it's funny. The rare cards are okay. It's like midway in the pack. That's crazy. I was so horrified when I opened the Mickey. But the Mickey is pristine. The rest of the pack is like all screwed up. Alright, the Mickey's a good hit. The Taylor Mickey, that's a good hit. That's a good one to get. And I only opened one of those in all the Chapter 1 Lorcana packs that I gotten. And I've gotten boxes of Lorcana. So, yeah, this scar, I don't even know where this scar is from. I gotta look the value of that scar up. Yeah, this is all not gonna do anything. That was good. So, from a pack standpoint, we opened... I'm gonna look at my bags really quick because I'm pretty sure we have a couple more packs, but I think this scar is actually worth something. Let's take a look. Let's jump into, and just for sake of argument, let's jump here. Oh no, let's jump there. See, a perfect example. It's telling me. I'm going to throw a Discord link in there so you guys can jump on Discord to join the group. We're getting stronger and stronger. We're getting stronger and stronger by the minute. I love it. Sorry guys, I'm trying to multitask and I'm doing a bad job. So sorry for the lack of swift multitasking. Let me get to TCG. And let's take a look at... I should actually have somebody else do this while I'm streaming, but Scar might not be worth anything, but let's see. Scar, Shameless, yeah. Yeah, he's worth nothing. Okay, he's worth nothing. Stitch is probably worth something. Alright, Stitch Rockstar is a $5 card. We'll take that. Which pays for a pack. Do that. That's easier. Oh yeah, he went down a lot in value. He's only $6. Brave Little Tailor Mickey, which kind of sucks. So they basically paid for their packs. Yeah, the blaster, all this other stuff is not worth anything. I know it isn't. It's all like small potatoes when it comes to prices, but. I am happy to get these two because I definitely needed more of those. I don't have play sets. That Scar, I don't think I have. All of this. So like I said, that's got a special place. And I'll keep the blaster because the blaster will definitely be useful. All of these I have full play sets of. So this will all just go into trading. And this is my fifth genie, so he'll be in my trading pool of cards. So I'm gonna set these aside with that. Although the Mickey I might grab for my actual deck, but yeah, these basically are the cards I got out of that were awesome. My foils, pretty good. I'm glad that one of my foil spots was a rare. I'm missing a foil. Where? Did I not take the foil out of a pack? I feel like I'm missing a foil. Or was there two foiled rares in there? Did I miss a foil? No, I didn't miss a foil. So then were one of these other rares foiled? And my brain is just not computing that. Why do I keep thinking I opened up less packs than I did? 2, 4, 6, 8. Nine, because that's the extra rare. Okay. That's right. So if we opened up 8 packs, it's 4 packs. I opened up 4 of Chapter 1 and 5 of Floodborne. Okay. Sorry, guys. So that's going to go in my extra pile of stuff. These are going to go in my need to be sorted pile of stuff. And then we're going to keep all our foils because obviously my goal is to try to have a foil deck. I know that I just mixed everything in, but that's that last pack. I actually want to keep this last pack together because it's so weird. It was so dirty. All my other rares were fine, and even the rares in the pack were okay. It's so weird that it was like actually dirty. Like they were legit dirty cards. That's like super weird. All right, let's get the Lorcana stuff out of here. That was fun. Definitely some good hits. Not the most valuable hits, but at least we got like traditionally higher valued rares. We didn't get like the bottom of the barrel stuff. All right, let's get into our painting stuff. So I did that for 29 minutes. That's pretty fair for a painting stream. Sorry that I keep going into Lorcana stuff. Like I said, we're going to take a break. I'm not going to open up Lorcana stuff for a while. But it's a lot of fun. I really do enjoy it. And I love the game. Like I said, if you want to see us do more videos where I talk more about the game strategy and deck building, let me know. I promise I will find a more fluid channel to put it on rather than the Warhammer channel. But yeah, so we're going to jump right back into Space Orks. So yes, your eyes are not deceiving you for anyone new. I basically took a bunch of Space Marine bits and Ork bits, and I have made my own custom Space Orks. So they are essentially orks that have stolen Space Marine tech and are traveling through the galaxy, saying hi and giving lots of orc-sized hugs to the universe. So that is what we're doing. I did do a little work on him off camera. Part of that is because I just wanted to get things moving and done on him, and I just want to like go a little on the quicker side. But we're gonna really push our painting agenda, because I can imagine for some folks that are watching, they're probably getting frustrated that I'm doing other things that are not necessarily painting a model related on the channel. So I'm gonna rectify that by doing that. I'm just doing some null oil here. So I used Apothecary White on this. Now I'm going to do the null oil so that I can get some of that detail back on the crest. And I said this in an earlier video, but I did these guys. You'll notice they do not have, you know, the chippy like Space Marine blue, and I did that on purpose because you know, I want it to look like they've had the armor for a while and they're deliberately being like brutal with it, or they're being So what I'm doing now is I'm just doing null oil in some of the recesses and a little bit of the lines. We're going to start to do some final touches on this guy, and then we're going to come back with some color. I want to do some checker detail. I want to do some other stuff. We're obviously going to fix up his sword. Just areas that I noticed. We're hurting a little bit and needed, I think, a little push in the direction. So like one area that I already saw and looked at was like just how the mouth wasn't really presenting itself as orc teeth. So I was like, how can I fix that? And I knew if I threw some null oil in there, that would really pop that. So, you know, I say this a lot to people that are doing model stuff. Your model always gets to this place where I call it the what is it, the ugly stage. So if you're a painter or if you paint models, you may have even used this term yourself, but your model will get to a stage where it's like basically blocked out, but the details aren't there yet, so it kind of looks super rough. And then you start to put those little details in, and then the whole thing starts to morph and change. So as you can already see, that head is like super, much more pronounced now. So now he looks like just like badass orc Terminator. That's coming. And now, of course, we're gonna do a lot of the little like armor work and I love when you do this detail, because if you overshoot it like I just did, you can literally just take a paper towel and just wipe away the excess, and it'll give you a nice real looking experience. But as you can see, Now when you look at those grooves, they have a nice dark outline. And I always do this with washes. It works super well. And it will bring those outlines back. And then, like I said, because this is supposed to be like an orc that's, you know, a little bit rougher and tougher and more melee based, he's not going to take care of the armor like a Space Marine would. So it's going to have a little rougher feel to it. I'm just going to go in there and get a little null oil on some of the bits. And I'm going to use some null oil around some of the edge details, so it'll give me a nice black outline for gears and bolts and other stuff. And like I said, guys, don't be shy. Throw up in the comments. If you have questions, comments. I always tell people I love to hear about what everybody's working on. Is either going to go really well or really bad. Oh yeah, that's a much better angle. All right, we're going to go with that angle because I realized I think I might have hit the camera. But you guys tell me, is that better? Can you see more detail? I think you guys can, if I am correct. So I think this is going to be the new straight position because it'll autofocus on that front model. Knocked my null oil all the way over. But yeah, I always say to everybody, like, please let me know what you're working on. I love hearing about different projects, different things that people are doing. Because you'd be surprised. A lot of people, and obviously the other thing too, if you have questions around the hobby or around painting or just around GW games in general, because I know for myself it was really daunting to get into the hobby. You know, at first I looked at all the products available, I looked at all the things that were out there, and I got really overwhelmed. So I guess we're getting a lot of people in and out tonight, I'm noticing. I feel like I won't necessarily see my yes, vibrant colors. So what we're doing here and what the thought process is. So depending on when or how long you've been playing Warhammer for. So there's two different things that are going on here. So obviously the biggest part of this color scheme is the idea that this is, of course, Space Orcs. So it's, you know, they're a little bit more rough and tough than your standard Ultramarine would be, because they have literally stolen Space Marine tech. So I took the new Leviathan box Ultramarines, and I have in fact orcified them. So I've taken orc bits and mashed them up, kit bashed it to make my own unique squadron of Terminators, which you're seeing here. So I have a whole squad of Terminators, a whole squad of normal troops. You're seeing the Dreadnought over there, which has a Gretchen hardwired into it. So it's just them taking that technology and going buck wild with it. So that's the number one thing. So the vibrant color palette kind of lends itself to the orc side of things. But if you are a seasoned Warhammer player and you remember when Space Orks at the beginning, Space Orks, when Marines were introduced and those old White Dwarf magazines. Man, sorry to interrupt, but I don't understand most of your terminology. Okay. Well, this is why we ask questions. So out of what I said, what do you not feel comfortable or didn't understand? Obviously, it was most of it, but let me start off asking this question. Are you kind of getting, are you new to the hobby or new to painting or model stuff? Or maybe tell me a little bit more about your experience. Okay. But well, right. So Space Orks don't exist. I made them up, but so not understanding that terminology kind of makes sense, but got it. Okay. So are you more like are you painting more like busts and things like that? Like like still models or miniatures, but only did minis once and it went horrible. Okay. So I get it. Cool. Well, so I can talk a little bit about some techniques or ways. So, but are you interested in getting into like Warhammer, or like, are you interested in getting into miniature games? Is that like something that you want to sort of get into, but you feel like intimidated by the miniature part, like the painting and the hobby part, like of that part of it? Sorry if I'm asking a lot of questions too. I'm just like trying to see if I can understand. Sorry, I'm just like kind of looking at my work and kind of trying to figure out like, where do I want to go? What do I want to do? I'm going to let that dry because I needed that color to go a little darker. So one of the nice things about using, not the game part, but I am interested in painting minis. Yes. Okay, cool. So, so this is obviously, we're in it, right? So I've painted this. Actually, if we get further along on him, I might start a new one tonight, so you'll see from the beginning what it looks like. But yeah, so like when you approach minis, so obviously the first part of it, I'm sure you know from all the other painting you do, you know, obviously the standard basics are there, like priming it and obviously picking the appropriate primer depending on what color scheme you're to go with. But with the miniature painting, so it really kind of depends. So obviously I'm going to talk through a couple of different things, one of them being the type of paints you use. Now what I'm using is the Citadel range of paints. So Citadel paints are made by the same company. I mean, again, I'm assuming you're familiar with Warhammer and Citadel and all that stuff, but so I'm using their paints. I'm using Citadel's paints, which are obviously made with their models in mind. But I know, yeah, primer spray cans, you got it. But like, so what I was going to say with the priming with minis is that, so we're going to talk about some different styles of painting products that Citadel makes. I'm using what's called contrast paints. So for somebody who's newer to painting miniatures, I think contrast paints are actually a really great tool, and they could really help you in feeling more confident, maybe. with getting like a better result with the painting. So to explain what contrast paints do, the best that I can. So the idea of the contrast paints, so they come in larger tubs like this, and the so are way too expensive for me since I can only order them online. Okay, so what you could also use is Army Painter. So anything that's Insta Paints, or because that's the term that most other companies use, they'll use like speed paints or they'll use Insta Paints. Sorry guys, I'm hearing weird noises. I'm going to take these off just so I can hear while I'm painting. But yeah, anything that's Insta Paints or Quick Paints, they're the same concept, but what they look like or what they do is that they are like they're oh, gotcha. What country are you from? Let me ask. Okay, that's the noise I heard. The mystery has been solved. Everyone in my house is doing weird stuff at weird times. I don't know if anybody else out there has the same feeling, but like when you are doing something and you like think that everybody's asleep, and then all of a sudden somebody wakes up. I'm in the Middle East, and the paint hobby is very rare here. I got you. Oh wow. That is, I never thought about that. That's cool. Well, I mean, not cool in a good way, but like, it's interesting to learn where or how available things are. But so if you're ordering them online, Army Painter is another place you could go, and they have Insta Paints. So Insta Paints are the same concept, but they are, the idea there is that it is paint that is not as it's not as thick as regular traditional acrylic paint, so it is more liquidy, and what it's for is the idea that when you put, so let's say I'm doing something like this insignet, the not the insignet, the skull with the wings on the chest plate. If I'm doing that, what I can do with the Insta Paints or contrast paints is I'm going to just do one coat on top of that. In this case, it was Apothecary White was the color I used. And what it's going to do, if you can see it, is it's going to sit in the recesses. So you see how the recesses have a natural darkness, and then we have the other areas that are just the general color. So it literally, it sort of paints and it does a paint and a wash at the same time. So it cuts down steps. That's why they call them speed paints, because it allows you to paint a model faster, because you can just put a coat of paint on it and you already have something that's pretty presentable. So the contrast paints are really great for people that are maybe new to painting minis and don't feel as confident yet. I usually add 70% alcohol and water to thin paints and create washes. Yeah, so you don't have to do that with these paints. They're already liquidy. They already come out liquidy. They don't need a wash. In fact, some people will add a medium to them to make them a little thicker, but you don't have to. And what's nice about them is that you can also build the tone up. So what do I mean by that? Well, when I go back over the same color over and over again, because the paint is opaque, it has it's see-through. You can layer colors in a different way. And I can simply just keep painting over the same color to make it darker. So like if I look at this foot where I have the yellow, you'll see there's a natural place where it's a natural place where it pooled, but I can go back over it and create edge shadows or edge highlights just by going back over it with the same color. So you can see how now that foot has more definition because I went back over with the same yellow, but now it looks darker because I added more of the yellow to it. So I can keep darkening the color. I've tried Vallejo paints and it's not... Okay. Everybody wants... a lot of people use Vallejo paints. I myself have not. I say it to a lot of people because I have I've chosen to use the contrast system. I can't really redo my paints because it would be too expensive, so I kind of have to do it. But you can see how on that foot now I've created a shadow just by going over it with the yellow. Do you see that? So that's what I love about the contrast paints. And then of course, if you go from a lighter color to a darker color, you can layer your colors so you can create some really dynamic shadows. And then to your point with your washes, you can then take the washes and do those on top of it. And that adds even more depth to it. So I think this can be a really good approach. This could be a really good approach for someone who is new to the model hobbying, especially painting something that small. So if you're used to painting, however it is, if you're used to painting something larger, but you see how this is a great example. Like I had the orange down, but now I just took the yellow and went on top of it, and you'll see that it only took the yellow, and wherever the yellow hit on top of the orange is so dark that the yellow doesn't show up. So you can really play with the colors and layer them in a way that makes you not have to paint harder just by doing that. But then you can also push it with your traditional very solid paint, washes. So I combined all of it to make a more dynamic model. If that makes sense. And so the way I usually start, I do light colors to dark colors. So I do light areas to dark first, paint my light colors and my dark colors. I'll block out everything like you normally would, and then I just kind of layer everything on top of that. If that makes sense. If you have other questions, keep asking questions. These are great questions, by the way. Like, do you have a question on opinion? Do you have a question on you'd like to do something or have a technique, but you're trying to figure it out? How to fix mistakes. So when so I was gonna say, if you're using something like an Instapaint system like this, if you're using the contrast paints, the way I fix mistakes, so I'll try to find a mistake so I can show you. This is another reason I like the contrast paints, is since everything is based off white primer, so I should mention that you have to prime your models in lighter primer. So you have to do white, or they do sell 2 additional primers. One is a Gray Seer primer and the other one is a Wraithbone primer. Gray Seer is for cool colors, Wraithbone is for warmer colors. Um, but if you're going to use this system, you do have to prime in white, because going back to what I was saying about the colors, because the colors are translucent, they're see-through, you need it to be white, because if it's black, you won't be able to see the color you're painting, because the black it'll just look like black. So you do have to prime in white. So to fix mistakes, the way you're gonna fix a mistake is exactly that. You're gonna use white paint to fix the mistake. So a great example is I made a drop fall on that armor pad that you can see there. So I'm gonna just take literally white. I'm just using like Cortex white. Now it depends, or I'm gonna use white scar white because that is what I prime them with. So I tend to just prime them general white, and I just push the color the way I want to. But if you do the Wraithbone or the Gray Seer, it'll be better. Now, what I'll normally do to fix that error is I literally will just paint white over it. Now, in the case of this, because it's an armor plate, I'm probably going to just repaint the whole thing white. If it was just a smaller mistake, I could do that. But I want it to be an even, and you'll see what I mean in a minute. I want it to be an even, I want to apply an even amount of paint. So by resetting it to white, it'll allow me to just throw more paint on top of it. Now, obviously, with the contrast paint system, if I wanted to, I could also have just gone over with a darker color. It's another way I could have fixed it, but I don't want to do that. Now, also, the white's kind of cool. You can use this technique to actually create highlights this way, because if I do the white on a highlight edge, so like, let's say I wanted to throw a little highlight on this edge, which I am going to do. So I want to do this to throw like an edge highlight. Some people might say, well, he did that because he put the white there. But I'm going to put the white there to block out the highlight, and then I'm going to throw yellow back on top of that, and that yellow will look brighter than the other yellow that's on there, because it'll be a fresh coat of yellow, whereas this, I've gone over it a couple of times with the yellow, so it's a little bit more mishmashed. You see a little bit more of the brush strokes. I did that on purpose because I wanted it to look like it was a little battle damaged. But that's how you can fix those mistakes. It's also how I fix pooling mistakes as well. That's the other thing I like about the contrast paints. Doesn't it become brighter when you repaint the white? Well, no, it won't. So that's part of why I did what I did here, where I did like half of the plate that way, because exactly for what you said. But remember how I said if I keep adding the color, I can push the color darker. So what's going to happen is I am going to get a lighter color when I first start, which you're right, but then I'm going to push another yellow on top of it, so it's going to blend into the other yellow, if that makes sense. So you can kind of go back over it, and that's what I love about the contrast paints, is you can go over it like 10, 20 times, and it doesn't fill up gaps, it doesn't fill up crevices, so it just lets you build. It's a slow build, and I like that. I like painting that way because you can really blend stuff together. So like a good example, I'm going to let that dry for a minute so we can work on them. But this is a good example of like really using the contrast paints. So you can see how I really like you can use that technique to create pooling, and you can see how I'm using it to create. I use the white to create like little strides to create like shading inside of the armor plates. You can see a lot more on like, so it's a mixture of using some darker colors. It's also using some of that edging technique that I'm going to show you in a minute. So you can kind of see a little bit of washes and some of the layering being used. And again, this is just literally a pass for the brains. That's literally just passing it with the paint. Yeah, I mean, this is like these guys, but I have examples. I have other examples that are not as vibrant. I mean, the contrast paints in general are very vibrant paints. But I can show you something that's a little bit more... Just so it's not to be said that I can't do. So you can see here, like I downplayed the colors a lot more. This is a little bit more like traditional, a little bit more like a traditional fantasy model. So I pushed the coloring, I pushed it a little bit darker. Everything was done a little darker because I really used a lot more washes on this to make him a little bit more gritty. So again, this is all the same color paint. I'm pushing, these are all the same paints. I painted all of these with the same paints. So it's not like I pulled out a different set of paints to paint that. But I just, like I said, that's what I love about the versatility of this. If you combine it with washes, it's very, very cool. Because you can get really vibrant colors if you want really vibrant colors. Or you can get very downplayed colors. But this is like very traditional. So again, for anyone that knows Warhammer, like Warhammer Fantasy, this is, I was taking my inspiration directly out of that paint scheme mechanic. So no, I didn't neglect the base. Well, I didn't neglect the base here. I haven't finished this yet. This is another model I have to finish. And the bases I didn't finish because I haven't finished the model yet. Basing is a whole other Megillah, and I always do basing after I finish the complete model. So, I mean, in that case, I just did some rough basing because I was doing a demo to just kind of show like how to build basing. But I will eventually do a more formal base. I have tufts and I have other stuff to do that with, because we do a lot of things on the channel. I haven't gotten that yet because I'm more concerned with painting the model rather than the base at the moment. And some of it too is because I'm using some of these in different projects. So like these guys, I'm going to be using in our custom campaign. So we're going to have a multiverse custom campaign, which is actually going to use the rules of Marvel Crisis Protocol to do a scenario campaign. So I wanted to hold off on basing these yet because I don't know how I want to base them yet. I was thinking I would just do traditional 40k bases, but I may want to do them like in the normal New York City area kind of bases. I don't know what I want to do. Chances are I will probably just do normal 40k bases, but that is part of why they have not gotten a base yet. And like I said, I always do it after I paint the model, and part of the reason why is I don't think this is a good example, but you may notice there's some like paint that dripped on the base. So I like to do the basing afterwards because then I can cover all that with, you know, the mud or whatever is going to be down there. But I don't neglect the bases all the time. Now this is a partially sculpted base, but I started to put a marine on there, and obviously I have to do more roughing. But there's definitely. Yeah, you can send me a link. That's fine. I was gonna say you could join the Discord server and throw it in there, but you could also throw it into the you could throw it into the chat too. I'm cool with chat links. So like I'm good with people sharing links in chat as well. I just want to see. Okay, so you guys can see that. That is a better angle. Oh, that's cool. The Joker who laughs. Okay. Okay, alright. We got Grogu in there. Kratos. Yeah, it's good stuff. So yeah, I definitely see. So like for me, I could, you know, so definitely I think there's some stuff I could show you with, you know, so I kind of already showed you some of it, which was just really, I mean, so now those pictures, are they, let me ask this question before I speak. Are they finished or are they in progress? And that's not me trying to insult. I just want to know before I put my 2 cents out there. Because I do like them. I just want to make sure I'm not saying something that's not true or finished. Okay. So I do like them. I don't know if the lighting is throwing off what I'm seeing, but I would. So similar things that I was talking about, that I'm doing on this guy. Like I usually stop when I get bored of the figure. Okay, gotcha. That explains. That kind of makes sense then. So what I was gonna say was, and so see, you'll see what I'm talking about. So like you were 100% on the money, which is, you'll see that now looks like a lighter yellow, but I do want it to be a highlight. So I actually do like that it's a lighter yellow. But what you'll also notice is, see what happens when I put more paint on top of it? So the minute I start to really let the paint pool on the white, and I do kind of a dabbing kind of effect, now I can start to blend that white back in. And then again, if I let this dry, which you should let the paint dry about 15 minutes, now I've minimized that lighter color and it's more blended into the rest of it. So if I don't want a strong highlight, I can do that. If I do want a strong highlight, I can kind of lean into the lighter color, if that makes sense. But what I was going to say with the models that you showed, I do like them. The only critique I was going to give them, was, you know, and you kind of led me to, you sort of do them and then get bored of them. So if you get bored of them, then maybe this feedback wouldn't help, because you're not looking to do more with them. But what I was going to recommend is that you do, like, so similar to what I'm doing with some darker washes like Null Oil and some of the other stuff I'm using. I would have done some of that on like the Kratos and like on his like ribs, on his like chest. I would do, and you could do that in a couple of different ways. You could do that with a brown rather than a black, just to add some natural like shadowing. So part of what I look at when I'm doing a model is I kind of look with light. How does light hit a model? So I try to emphasize my shadows where real shadows happen on the model when it's lit. So when you, the viewer, are looking at the model, your eye is going to naturally think that there are supposed to be shadows there, and then you start to see them. So like that's why I put dark in here, so that there was all shadowing in here, because when natural light hits, it's going to want to make a little inference of a shadow there. So I kind of lean into it, into the real example based on what it's doing. That's why I also like to paint. I like to paint models that are assembled. I don't really like painting. I can never do, you know, on the sprue or paint the pieces and then put it together. I don't do well with models like that. What that basically means is I make my life a living hell, because I have to get in these like little tiny models And all I can say to people that are worried about things like that, if they want to get into miniature painting, is you just have to keep doing it and you get better at it. That's the reality of it. Like, you just have to keep going in there. And you just get better at pushing your brush. And so you'll see what I'm doing now is I'm kind of like pushing that darker blue into those recesses. So I'm just putting another coat of the blue on there to try to darken that plate, and that's also going to make the plate kind of stand out a little bit more. So I think, and I'm hoping, you guys are seeing a really cool model emerge with a lot of really cool details. So hopefully the model looks good. And if it doesn't look good, lie to me. Tell me it doesn't. No, I'm kidding. I make that joke on every stream, but please give me feedback. I love feedback. I talk about it multiple times over. My whole experience in painting is 9 figures. Oh, I gotcha. Yeah, so does that mean that you're saying it looks bad? Are you taking me up on that offer? That's pretty funny. I like how he leaned right into the joke, which is good. I like banter. I like I like when people lean into that. It's very funny. Yeah, this is a tough one. He's got like again, when we talk about for folks that are not indoctrinated into Warhammer and Games Workshop and all that stuff. So when I use the term Space Marines are basically humans. They're humans in the future. So they're like humans. They're the chosen humans. They're like the big bad. They're the big. You know, they have big like armor mech suits, essentially. So a Space Marine normally would be a man inside of the suit. Now, you may be saying to yourself, well, it's supposed to be the future. Why are there orcs there? Which orcs are fantasy-based creatures. Well, how do you play with minis? So are you asking how, like, what is Warhammer, or how do you play the game, or what is the game? Is that what the question is? I just want to understand. I don't want to go on a long explanation before I like understand the question. So Warhammer. So the models I showed, because I showed essentially all mostly Warhammer 40K. So the way that Warhammer 40K works is that you would have a squad of these units. So what do I mean by a squad? Oh, all my painted ones? Oh no. Oh, there's a Terminator right in Prime? Okay. So you would have a squad of these characters. So in the case of okay. Oh Jesus. And did the green stuff just break? No, it didn't. Okay, cool. Awesome sauce. So I don't know why these guys are all separated. That's so weird. And there's one more painted Marine that I have to find. I don't know where he went, but he has disappeared. He has vanished. I'm gonna break something. So you would have a squad of, so like we would have, so we'd have, so what, here. Yeah, there's like more of all of these characters. I don't know why I only have 4 of the characters. There should be more of them. But anyway, you'd have a squad of characters. So this would be a squad of Space Marines. And then I keep calling these Terminators because that's the type of unit they are. They're called Terminators. But this would be a unit, that would be a unit. This would be its own unit because it's a larger, bigger unit. So you'd have a force. So you would create, you know, you and your opponent would say, we want to play this many points worth of, you know, this a battle that is this many points. Then I would assemble my forces and pay for my units and what I'm going to put on the table, and you're going to do the same thing. And then we're going to battle. So obviously every unit will have its own different weapons, stats for movement, stats for damage, stats for armor. And then we're going to also have stats for movement, which are going to be physical measurements. So they're going to be us physically measuring the board and moving our pieces over this large area. And we'll have determined like where we're going to start, where we can deploy our units. And there will be objectives on the board potentially that we have to either control or contest or destroy or whatever, because there's different scenarios that you're going to play. And that's how you play with them. You use dice to roll, so you know it's, again, when you shoot, when you do close combat, it's going to all take its thing. Correct. There are rules. So when you play like Warhammer 40K, it is a skirmish-based game with units, a force, and you're fighting each other. And with this channel, we paint a lot of different models. So there are other games with other rules. So like I mentioned, so what I was talking about, which is a multiverse campaign, the reason I keep calling it a multiverse campaign is I am going to be taking pieces or models from different games, aka different universes, and we're going to create a campaign driven game out of it. So what do I mean by campaign driven? So when people think campaign, they think role playing, they think RPGs like Dungeons and Dragons, and things like that. I've seen Magicians and Dragons. What about those? So there are rules. Okay. Well, let me explain. We'll get into the rest of Warhammer, but so the idea is that when most people hear role playing, they think those types of games. But you can also, so not only is there just straight up like one opponent versus one opponent, and just battling or fighting your forces, so you'd have a different force than I have. But there is also, they call them campaign scenario missions, where it's a little bit more story driven. So instead of it being about just destroying your opponent or scoring more points than your opponent, there's like a campaign objective, or you can like string it out to many different games that lead into a larger story. So we call that campaign play. So you can kind of do that kind of stuff with these as well. Still uses the rules, you're still fighting, but you can create a campaign or story driven adventure with this stuff. So what you're describing, where you say I've seen wizards, I've seen dragons, so Warhammer, that title shares both for Warhammer 40K, which is like futuristic fighting in the future, and then Warhammer Age of Sigmar, which is fantasy based fighting. So that's where we have magic and fantasy characters, and there's no guns and mechs and robots and science and power armor, and meaning it's not set in the, as they would say, 41st millennia. It's set in traditional fantasy times where we have elves and goblins and orcs and all that stuff. So that's why you're seeing wizards, and you're seeing dragons, and the boxes will say Warhammer. Yeah, so there's a fantasy game, and then there's a 41st like century fighting with guns and tanks and robots. And well, what I just showed you, that big unit I just showed you, that's a Tyranid, which is essentially just an alien race of bugs or hive-minded creatures, which I'm a big fan of playing Tyranids. And that giant I showed you, that would be part of the fantasy world. So that's why there's a giant. But what is confusing, which I'm not going to go too far more into it because I want to paint more, but what makes it super confusing is that Warhammer, when it first came out, so I started to talk about my paint scheme and the Space Marines and all this other stuff. But when Warhammer first came out, the way that Warhammer used to work was it was called, the fantasy game was called Warhammer Fantasy. And the original way that Games Workshop, the company, hot take, Warhammer Fantasy is better than 40K. I will say to you, I agree with you. I actually loved Warhammer Fantasy. I was a huge Warhammer Fantasy player. So let me just explain Warhammer Fantasy versus Age of Sigmar. Age of Sigmar is the modern thing that Games Workshop made. So if you're familiar with Warhammer Fantasy, like the real Warhammer Fantasy, that was more like what I just said, which was traditional fantasy fighting. And if you played any of the computer-based stuff, like Warhammer Fantasy Total War or Warhammer Total War, that is more based on Warhammer Fantasy. And Warhammer Fantasy was exactly that. It was traditional fantasy characters. Back in the day. So what happened, so I was starting to say Warhammer Fantasy, the original way that Warhammer Fantasy and 40K worked together was that 40K was the future of the fantasy universe. So the fantasy universe that had elves and it had goblins and it had orcs, and everything was called the regular terms that you see in every other fantasy novel. So orcs and goblins was a faction. You know, they had wood elves, they had high elves, they had dark elves, they had chaos dwarves, they had chaos units, they had all that stuff. But everything was dwarves. It was all the fantasy names for things. So the idea was in the future, this was their ancestors in the 41st millennia. So we didn't have things like Tyranids, which are the bugs, and we didn't have some of the other factions, and that's why you have orcs in space, because they are the fantasy orcs in the future. That's why a lot of the other units look like elves. That's why some of the units look like dwarves. That's why some of the units look like ogres, because they were the fantasy creatures in the future. Set the clock forward. What basically happened was Games Workshop realized they can't copyright the word goblin. They can't copyright the word orc. They can't copyright the word elf. Those are general fantasy terms. They're part of the public domain. Anyone can use them. So Games Workshop had a brilliant idea, which was to get rid of fantasy completely and recreate it as Warhammer Age of Sigmar. And what that meant was, if you were a fantasy player, %90 of the models that you've been collecting for years and years just became useless. And you had to buy completely new factions and had completely different names and were completely different ideas. They completely rewrote the lore, the world, everything, and that's it. So that made Obviously, a lot of people angry. It wasn't until much later in Age of Sigmar that they even threw people a bone and actually made a faction called Cities of Sigmar that actually used some of the old fantasy model units, so that people could literally oh, whoop, that's the wrong color. Well, guess what? Now it is going to be blue. Literally gave they made Cities of Sigmar, which gave people some of those models back, but it was in a weird way because you had to like basically combine models. They became one faction. So you had Cities of Sigmar was like their attempt to create in the lore like it's like a peaceful waypoint. It's almost like it's kind of like most of the towns. It's like most of the towns in Dungeons and Dragons that like you'll find dwarves and elves and you might find them all living together in harmony. So they kind of like made that faction, which let you use some of the old models. And then they started to sprinkle some of the other models like in other factions, because they started making these like smaller factions. Like in Age of Sigmar, there's literally a faction of giants, which is, so who makes the rules and story campaigns? So Games Workshop makes the rules. They come out with different editions of the game every, I want to say 3 to 5 years. They will come out with a new edition. So it means you can use the same models, but the rules will update, change. They may tweak or change different aspects of the armies, as you know, as people have played with the new rule set, and they have they've discovered that maybe things are too powerful and they have to like power creep it back. So they sort of like try to balance it. The reality of that situation is that it doesn't really balance it. They always like try. They always claim they're going to try to, but it most certainly never becomes completely balanced. There's always some faction that gets more benefits, especially if they get new models or new units or new things. But anyway, and then for the same thing is true of the scenario play. What happens when players print their own mini? Right. So that is so in the world of Games Workshop, if you're playing like a casual game, if you're playing casually, as long as like obviously the people you play with agree on that, there are people that will do that. But in official GW tournaments, they're not going to let you do that. So they do not allow printing of models or proxying of models in official tournaments. That's when we make a larger. I have to redo the blue to fix that. We have to check for too big. Yeah, for Warhammer, there are tournaments. Yes. Oh man, I'm like not. This brush is really not working for me tonight. All right, hold on. I need to. Yep, there are tournaments for Warhammer. There are like every other, like many model games. They have tournaments. They have tournaments. They have. Yeah, I gotta just fix this now. But yeah, so they're not a fan of people proxying or like printing their own models. They don't have their because that's the whole idea. So the reason I told that whole story about the whole IP thing and the whole like them changing the game because they couldn't copyright. Wow, they set the whole table up and measure distances. Yes, because measuring the distances are how you determine movement in the game. Correct. Oh man, this is. Oh, I know why. I know exactly why this isn't working as well as it normally does. It's because of the curvature of this piece of armor. That's why. Is I gotta paint sketch rough it, and then we'll go back over it. I did this differently than how I did my other checker. I shouldn't have done it like this. This was a bad idea. This shoulder pad has like a really weird like dip angle in it, and I shouldn't have done it the way I'm doing it. I should have waited because I'm not evenly distributing my checker. I'm like, I mean, again, from far away, as long as it looks like a checker, then we'll be okay. But like, I'm definitely screwing it up because it's not a small plate like the other ones I did it on. So there's like a degree of distance, and I'm just gonna like go with it. Also, the tip of this brush is really, really bad. I'm gonna have to get another fine detail brush. I think this one's going. I mean, it doesn't look terrible. I'm like yelling at myself, but I need to what I'm gonna have to do is I'm just gonna have to go back over it with the blue. So I'll use the blue to tidy up the squares. Checker is really going to make the difference because that's like a really staple. It's a staple of the orks. The orks like to put checker on all their stuff, so it's like very gives it that very ork feel. Again, if you're new to Warhammer, you might not know what I'm talking about, but if you're older to Warhammer, you'll be very familiar with the ork mentality. What's my take on licking the brush? I don't do that. I mean, the reality is I'm not using, so it's not like I'm using I'm not oil painting, so it's not that there's like chemicals on my brush, but I would not recommend it. I know some people do that to get. The. Yesterday I had a whole argument with people who do. Yeah, again, not that. It's not like you're. I say it's toxic, even acrylics. They say it's not. Yeah, acrylics are toxic. They're paint. So yes, you are the winner of that. You are the winner of that argument. So yeah, they are. All paint is toxic if consumed. The only difference with because acrylic paint is water based. It may not make you feel as sick as quick. but I would imagine consuming it, and especially if you do it more often, probably not the best idea. Like I was saying, it's not like it's oils where you have to use turpentine to clean oil brushes. So turpentine is very toxic to people. You should never eat it or drink it. But yeah, paint is paint. It's synthetic. It's not. You know, it's like acrylic paint is water based, but that doesn't mean that like, oh, because it's a water based paint, it's like I should, yes, please allow me to drink this. No, that's not. Well, yeah, because oils is like it's turpentine. Turpentine is not a chemical that people are supposed to eat or ingest. Or sorry, I'm saying turpentine. It's or terpenoid or whatever you're using, because I think terpenoid is the. I think I'm showing my age by saying turpentine. But even edible paints is bad. Have you heard of Red 40 and what it does? No. Am I gonna get like really grossed out and sick from this story? Because then maybe I don't want to hear what Red 40 does. I'm assuming it causes cancer. Because the minute that someone says, if you heard what this does, and if they're like, it's really bad, I'm like, we're probably going down that road. I would say, but. Oh. Great. I'm glad that it does that. Yeah, it's the turn on this, man. The turn on this armor. This is so tricky. Alright, so what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna have to fix all this. Yeah, it's just a little bit of it is not correct. It's just because of the way that it like naturally just has this really weird curve to it. I'm gonna have to sort of make something that looks accurate. They do transfer papers that do this, and I don't do them. I like to do them I like to make my own patterns. I really should. Normally they look a lot better. This, like I said, this thing has just a weird. I'm just gonna make this, make it a checker on the top. It's like so weird the way that it's like spaced out, but I think that works. I think it will work the way that the perspective is. And then if I let it dry and I just go in and start fixing, then I think we'll be okay. But I gotta let it dry. I just wanted to try to like sketch out the checker, and then I can like refine it. Yeah, it'll look better once I go back in with the blue and I redo some of the white areas. I just wanted to get like a painter's sketch on it so I can like figure out how I'm going to do the checker. And I was going to say what was just said, that concept of it looks good from afar, that's really your biggest weapon. Like if you can look at it on the table and it looks good from over here, as long as it looks good from a distance away, like you've won the battle. So a lot of people get really like meticulous, and they're like, well, if I'm looking at it directly on top of it, like I've done a disservice to it. And it's like, no, you didn't at all. If it's like a few feet away and it looks good, you did a good thing. And then I gotta fix this because I screwed this up. And here's what I'm gonna do for this. So I'm gonna do this, and you guys probably will notice I'm going a little heavy on the white. I'm going to do that because I'm just going to paint the entire thing green, and I'm going to do the blue over the green because I can do that. So that's another way of, like I was talking about, of planning your colors. If you plan colors in stages like that, you can paint so much easier and get all your fine details done. Yeah, he looks pretty good. And he's definitely going to fit in with the rest of the squad. If we want to take a look. See, I can tell you, like, this was done much better. But we're eventually going to get it to look like this one. But this is the captain of the unit. And so you can see, so they are pirate space orks. So, this is actually 3 companies worth of bits. So I created this model completely on my own. So I used a company called Spellcrow for the pirate bits, so the orc pirate bits, so the head and the torso. And then we have Space Marine armor, so the power fist, the shoulder pads, the sword. That's all Space Marines. So that's all GW parts. And then I use green stuff to make the sash. I use green stuff to enlarge the it's actually pretty solid, I have to say. I use green stuff for the sash. I use green stuff to make the feet and the like bulge or the crotch area bigger, just to make the proportions of an orc look more believable. I don't want him to look like a human person anymore, because he has to be an orc inside of a human person's armor. So green stuff is you might know from modeling something called milliputty. Basically green stuff, we call it green stuff because there's 2 things that make up green stuff. There's a blue and a yellow material. So I'm not going to make any because I'm not doing anything, but let me just throw this up there. So green stuff, you take the yellow compound and the blue compound and you mix them together. So the blue is a hard putty and the yellow is a soft sticky putty. And when you mix the 2 together, it turns it green. And you can use that for sculpting. So if you ever have a model where you want to maybe change part of the model, or you want to add details on the model. So like, for instance, going back to the Kratos you did, like Kratos has different armor in the game, right? So like, let's say you wanted to embellish that Kratos and use the green stuff to sculpt like other armor choices. You could do it for both. So you could use it to mask over an area if you want. So if you want to fill in an area, like if you wanted to have Kratos with no face, like if you wanted to turn Kratos into a Dementor, you could put it over his whole face and then only do the whole bit and like resculpt and reshape his face. So you could do that. You could put green stuff on top of something, or you could do what I did. So what I did was, so this torso piece didn't really fit well on the GW pieces because they're 2 different companies. So that's why I made the sash, because the sash wraps around so you don't see the really bad seam line. So it's hiding the seam line. Then I was able to create and fold that moldable material to make it look like a sash. And then I made the bottles by just making different things. So I just kind of made some fun stuff. And then, like I said, I bulked up the feet. So there are little tiny human feet under there, but I bulked it up with the green stuff. And I just use regular sculpting tools because it's very malleable, it's very sculptable, and then it dries hard. And then you can prime on top of it, you can paint on top of it. Yeah, you don't want to use wood filler. Like I said, green stuff is one option. Milliputty is another material. It's very much like that. Again, the milliputty is two different compounds. You mix it together, and then it becomes a sculptable, sticky thing that you can use. But yeah, so I did that for that. I did it so you can see it on here. I did it on all of them because I had to make all the feet bigger and the bulges bigger, and then I even used it here to actually make the belly come down so the belly covered the seam line, and then I made it look like the belly kind of folded over, and then I used it for the arm because I added on to this marine, so I added pieces with it to add on to the dead marine, because that's what a space marine is supposed to look like on the base. Yeah, because you paint it, and if you sculpt it, you have to sculpt it well. And then I made wiring with it. I made rocks with it. I made feet with it. I made drapery with it. Yeah, same thing. You can even sand it once you're done. And then you can see, here's the actual green stuff because I didn't prime this yet. But you can see how I took a bit that had a wire, and then I wanted the wire to keep going. So I just did a green stuff wire. And then I'm going to prime that, and I'm going to paint that, and you won't see anything else. Because I wanted it to look like they grafted more technology on top of these armors. Basically, like, they killed the guy inside, the armor didn't work, then the orks kind of grafted more materials on it to try to, like, jumpstart it or get it to work. Because that's in the 40k universe, orks are like that. They, like, take a bunch of junk and put it together. Same thing here. So I added, like, extra wires so that the wires would go into the weapons. I think one of my favorite bits about this is that he stabbed the Space Marine in the back with a knife, and now he's walking around with his armor, but he didn't take the knife out. I think that's pretty funny. Tried to have some humor with my kit bashing, but I made exhaust pipes coming out of this armor. I used it to fill in where the arms, so that the arms could sculpt and be okay, because these arms didn't really fit well. So you can use green stuff for a lot of different uses. It's got a lot of different uses you can use it for. And you can see how that all blended in, Yeah, green stuff's really good. It's a really cool. I'm gonna start to do more. We're gonna start to do more custom models on this channel. So I'll be using the green stuff for a lot of different projects. So we'll definitely be doing more insight into how to use it, what to use it for. Do you play with friends or just collect? I do play with friends, but I do collect a lot of models. You know, I always tell people, like, for a lot of my experience with this game, you know, I lead with, it's funny because it's kind of the first thing you said about your model experience, but I'm sort of the same way. I paint what I like, so if I get bored with stuff, I will be known to table it, similar to how you were talking about. You know, I'll table it and be like, all right, well, I'll come back to it later. I'll come back to it another time if I get bored. But so when it comes to models, I tend to I'll buy a lot of the characters first for a faction. There's a reason I do that as well. When you want to play Warhammer, usually the things that sell out the fastest for the models is the characters, and then once the character sells out, you'll only find like the grunts. You'll only find like the troops. So I got in the habit of always picking up the character models, which means I have little bits of a lot of different factions because I always pick like their characters up, especially if I think they're cool, because then one day I'll collect the rest of the faction. So I do have a little bit of like a model, call it a model addiction, but I do buy too many models, and probably more models than I should, which is actually one of the reasons I started streaming, so I can get so I can really start to you know, really get down to painting all this stuff. And it definitely has made me a faster painter. Although I will admit I'm a little sluggish on tonight's paint because I'm like battling the cold, and you probably can hear it in my voice, and my throat's a little sore, so I just haven't been my full self. So it's like at the same time I'm like battling the cold, and I feel like achy and tired, and I just don't feel 100%. So I'm like trying to push through and just kind of, you know, feel better, but I'm definitely having a little trouble keeping myself going. Now I want to do a little bit, I mean, all this stuff is final touches, and really just, now I'm just having like fun with like shading, and some of it is like covering some final stuff, but I just want to add some, really go over it with color so I can get it dark. Yeah, it's annoying because I'm like trying to paint, and it's like, and then on top of it, one of my lights just blew out. So I'm like, I shouldn't say it blew out. I have lights that could be turned off, and someone in my house just turned off one of my lights. So that may be someone's signal for me to stop, but I wonder if that's someone telling me that I need to stop streaming, which is very possible. And thank you for the follow. I'm sorry that I didn't say thank you. I had my headphones off, so I didn't hear the alert. Yeah, we're on quite a bit. So, following and signing up for notifications is the best way to know when we're live. So make sure that you do that. So not only following the channel, but make sure you have it set to let you know notifications when we are live. Alright, so this is where the magic's really going to start to happen, because I'm going to start to fix all this crazy checkering. Awesome. I love hearing that. Yeah, we're working. I'm working tirelessly to try to get my affiliation in place, so I can do this a little bit more full time. We can do more stuff. And the reason I asked for the notifications or to turn them on is that having you come back and see us and be a reoccurring viewer is the best way you can help us right now. Which is interesting, because I was going to say there was a bunch of other people I was expecting to see come into the stream, but they did not come in. I jinxed it. I said we did so well last time. I'm only kidding. I get it. It's the holidays. There's a lot going on. Everybody's got a lot on their plate. I do not blame anybody for not being around or having other stuff to do. There we go. Now the checkered's starting to look a lot better. What I'm doing now is I'm trying to match the intensity of the blue, and that actually helps a lot to go back over the blue with the color again, because then what that'll do is it'll start to make those divisions darker, and they'll actually stand out a lot more. I'm really liking this Marine, man. He's looking good. Getting my painting mojo back a little bit, because I definitely took a little hiatus, and I felt bad about that. We didn't stream for a while because I had a lot of personal stuff going on and had to get stuff back on track. But the good news is I got it all back on track, and we're rocking and rolling with a little bit of more gusto. Now all I'm doing is I'm just creating some folds. I'm just introducing a little darker color into the sash, so it looks a little bit more together. And yes, your eyes do not deceive you, my friends. That is a space orc. I took the Terminators from the Leviathan box, which, for folks that don't know what that is a starter set box with 2 different factions in it to help you get started playing Warhammer 40k. And I took all of the Space Marine models from that box, and I turned them into, what if an orc stole the Space Marine tech and started to modify it and go crazy through the universe, making friends, stealing stuff. AKA, when I say making friends, stabbing people and killing them. And I was going to say, just so for folks out there, I am a commissioned artist and painter. So I am a commissioned painter too. So if you want to check out our socials and our about page, you can check out my website, and you can support us by going there and hit me up for commission work if you like what you see. And I do all kinds of work. I do single models, armies, squads, characters. I was gonna say, he looks bigger than normal. Yeah. Well, these are Terminators. So, in general, even a Terminator, when a human is inside of it, is a bigger unit. And that's because a Terminator has like a bigger suit of armor, because Space Marines have basically like essentially like robotic armor, or like the equivalent of like the best example, if you are a DC fan, you know, like Batman's Dark Knight Returns armor. That's what basically every Space Marine is, because it amplifies their strength, it makes them stronger, it makes them because they have a giant like power suit of armor on. If that makes sense. It's like a robot exoskeleton. Now I'm doing the power sword, which this is a great technique or tactic where I'm going to, when we talked about this whole idea of using the white to fix corrections, this is a good idea. This is a good place where I'm actually going to use the white to lay a different color down on the power sword, so we can make it look like it's glowing with like a firepower, like, because that power sword was looking a little dull. Gotta let that dry, and then we'll layer some other stuff on top of it to make it look a little bit more epic. And I was going to say, for anybody out there that hasn't followed yet, please do. And like we talked about, please check out the About page. I always tell people on that About page, we have, of course, our my website is on there. Our YouTube is on there, which if you are newer to the channel and want to see more examples of painting, where I go from, you know, you could see some models that are completely see the whole progression of start to finish. Those are the old VODs of our other broadcasts. I like to always warn people that our channel is a multi-functional channel. I do Warhammer stuff, but I also do Marvel Crisis Protocol. I do Manta Games, all different kinds of model companies. I do occasionally open up Magic the Gathering packs. I do other kinds of stuff, so. Alright, we went over the 2-hour mark, and we're almost at 2 o'clock. I'm just using null oil to make it a little bit more obvious that there's some shadowing. So we have some separation for this armor piece. Again, just giving some shadow and detail. We're going to do the same thing on the fingers. You know, this is my favorite step. I love when I have just my washes left to do. I'm just going into those crevices. We're getting just to get some detail into that fist, and that is a power fist for my folks at home that are not as forward on Warhammer weaponry. And yes, for anyone that's joining us, your eyes do not deceive you. This is in fact a orc that has stolen Space Marine armor. And I know I keep saying that, so for anyone that's watching, I'm sorry. I say it a lot because I want people to know it's a custom project. And if you like this, we have way more where that came from. I have a whole squadron to paint of these guys. So I have a whole Terminator squad to paint. I have a regular unit squad to paint. It was brought up before. We will get to the bases. I will be basing all this stuff. I'm just going through and painting everybody because I want to get the color schemes and all that right. And then I want to decide what base kind of makes sense. What the environment they're all in would be. It's really that 2-hour mark. It's either that or I'm the only game in town, which probably I am at this time. There's probably not too many Warhammer streamers right now. I guess. Oh no, I put too much water. But it works well sometimes with the contrast paint because then it works a little bit more like ink, and you can kind of get it into the spots that you want to get it into. But it actually just don't drip onto my yellow, and I'll be a happy, wonderful camper. I'm trying to get in there. Man, this angle is really tough. Want to get some of this darker, so I'm kind of using this opportunity to do it as well. And also, it seems like I have to do a little painting of one other area. Oh, I overpainted a little bit, so it's got to get back. This brush is killing me. The bristles on this brush are definitely gone. I'm gonna have to get some more small detail brushes. That brush, I'm fighting the brush a little bit, which I hate when I'm doing that. Alright, he looks pretty good. I feel like I gotta do null oil on that eye, and I may have to like redo that eye. I had an idea for it, and I don't think it's working really well, but let's see if I throw some null oil on it, if it will catch the rim of it the way that I think it will. Oh, that might be the reason, I think. so small. I think that rim has to be shinier. I have to do something to highlight that because it's not popping as much as I want it to. So the face is working pretty well. It's just that it's not. Oh, everybody just jumped out. They were like, "Whoa, man!" They were like, "He doesn't know how to paint an eye. Get out." I'm very, very, extremely kind to myself when I stream. I don't know who's left. My Streamlabs is so bad. It really does not tell me who is what. Oh, Spiker Scott, what's up? Hope all is good, bro. Hey, what's up? Oh wait, okay, everybody's here and now they're here but they're not here. This thing is all messed up. It's definitely not telling me who's actually in the room. What's up, what's up? Everybody's here. It's funny because it's like there are like definitely multiple people in this room, and I don't know why I'm not seeing them. But I bet if I go to my actual like Twitch thing, no. Oh, everybody's talking now. Oh, there. Okay. According to this, there are 6 people in the room. Did I just get raided? Is that why? Yeah, this Streamlabs sucks. All right. You guys missed it. We opened up more Lorcana cards because I did get more. Because I just can't contain myself. Yeah, I can't see the rate at all either. It's just weird because if I go to the website, it says there are 6 people watching, but Streamlabs, oh, there it is, it caught up. Now it says there's 6 people. Streamlabs is so bad. That's awesome. Hello, everyone. Yeah, Streamlabs is like really bad because I think this happens to me all the time. I think there's like nobody watching because it like doesn't show me the right number. But I'm so glad you're all here. I will say I think my voice needs a rest. My day's been good. I'm gonna take a little break. Not break from. I'm not gonna like end the stream. I'm gonna like just sit for a sec. It's been okay. I was gonna say I'm probably gonna be on for a good solid like 20, maybe like another 20 minutes, just because I've been on for over 2 hours now. Because I do have an appointment early in the morning, so I have to. No, I got you. I'm on for another like 20 minutes. I gotta let this dry. I'm gonna do a couple more details to it. Yeah, because I have to do a little bit of work tomorrow, so it's only a few hours, but I do have to work, so I have to go to sleep at some point, which would be good. But while I'm waiting for this to dry, I was gonna say we were. Oh, any good polls from the Lorcana stuff? So my best pull. I'm gonna take a break from the Lorcana stuff. So for the Rise of the Floodborn, I got another Shere Khan, which was awesome. I got a foiled Pete, which was good. I did get an Arthur, which was really good. Arthur is good, is a good pull. I got another witch. It's an awesome pull in that witch. So we ended up pulling four epics, but I have this epic already. Plenty of it. It's a whopping 50 cents, this card. We got Grand Poppy, which is a decent. He's not great. Arthur is a dope card. Arthur's really good. It's whenever this character quests, you may return another chosen character of yours to your hand and gain 2 lore. So the reason I want him is there is a nasty, nasty combo with Arthur, Mickey the Sorcerer, and Brooms. So he is going to go in the Recycle Repeat deck, and I'll be able to throw the Broom back out for free. So it's going to be a nasty good combo. I've thought of this combo for a while. It's really good. It's a fast combo because he's a 3rd turn. The Broom will be 0 cost, so you'll be able to throw the Broom out. And Mickey is also a low cost. So it's a fast combo for Lorcana. So I would say out of the Floodborn stuff, probably the Shere Khan. I mean, the Pinocchio is a good pull because Pinocchio is another one of those. It's only 2, and he quests for 3 Lorcana, which is really good. Weight set. We got Goofy. I don't understand Goofy and if this card is good or not. I don't think it is, but it's 9, but he quests for 4 and he's 10-10. Don't understand how you use this well. It takes you a long time to get him. I guess if you pair it with other cards that knock costs down, like the Mickey. I don't know. Just I'm not feeling this as much. But I guess with the Witch, maybe. With the Queen, I always call her the Witch, which is the Queen. Yeah, choose and discard a character card. Maybe that's a good use for Goofy. Use this, discard Goofy. Actually, that's not a bad combo. Oh, I just realized she doesn't actually have any lore. I didn't realize that when I looked at her before. She cannot quest for anything. So literally her ability is the only thing that she's good for. Interesting. I do need this, but this is in the intro deck, so I have a lot of these. This is good for the princess deck, which is princesses, kings, and queens. Characters get +1 attack. So very good for my princess deck. We'll see. That was the Floodborn cards. And then for and then for the chapter 1 cards, you got the Scar. We already lost somebody because I'm looking at Lorcana cards. It's funny. Stitch, the Rockin' Out Stitch, which is pretty awesome. We got a Mickey. This is a really good pull. Mickey Mouse. Besides the Stitch and the Mickey, yeah, I mean, it's a new TCG game, basically. But this was a good pull. This was a good pull. Everything else was mediocre. I mean, technically, another epic, not a bad pull. Mickey's a good card, but I just have a lot of them, and he's not worth much anymore. But he's really good. He's what my bodyguard deck is based around, so. Because he's really good because he quests for 2. He's got the bodyguard ability, and these other your other musketeer cards get +1 attack. I don't know anything about any of them. I only know poker. Yeah, so decent cards, but they were decent cards. The biggest things, I mean, for me, the cards that matter are these because they're the ones I really needed. Yeah, I think they're pretty cool too. But for anyone that plays TCG games, so you said you play, what is it, Pokemon and Warhammer Champions. Probably Warhammer Champions is closer to Lorcana than Pokemon is, although I've said it before, Lorcana is if Magic, Pokemon, and Dragon Ball Super all had a baby. It's like it grabs mechanics and things from those other games, so it plays similar to, like, Lorcana has the same thing that Pokemon has, where you can't interact with the person. There's no interrupting what they're doing. It's like you take a turn, I take a turn. In Lorcana, you win by getting 20 Lorcana. So it's kind of similar to Pokemon, where you win by getting the 3 reward cards, or the 6 so it's like it's got similar mechanics in that regard, but then it also has like magic mechanics where you have a resource, you have to use the resource to cast things, tapping and untapping is a mechanic in this game. You know, it's all that kind of stuff. I was gonna say, if you guys would like me to do an in-depth Lorcana like stream where I talk more about the mechanics of the game, I'm more than happy to do that. Okay, I used to do Champions when it was a thing. I've got cards that no one can get unless you won the GW Championship comps, as I won a lot. Oh, that's pretty cool. Yeah, that's kind of like in Magic. I have some of the like game day cards, judge promo cards. So it's like a kind of a similar vibe. You got them by going to events and by doing well at events. So I know what you're talking about. Trying to give this a little bit of a darker paint job. Oh, that's cool. Yeah, I was trying to be a judge for Magic. I never got really off the ground with it to be a judge. I wanted to be one, but it just took too much. It was going to take too much work. Like at the time I was trying to do it, so. When you say he's talking in the Discord, is he talking in one of the Discords that I joined recently? Okay, cool. That's the one I thought it was. Like Like, are you just in the... Oh, you're in the actual... Got it. Okay. Yeah, I wish if I wasn't popping off in a minute, I would definitely come in and join. Which I will one of these days just jump in and probably join and say hi, but yeah, just like I gotta hit the hay in a minute, or I will be a zombie child. I'm gonna paint a little bit more, and then oh, nice. That's cool. I'm all about meeting new friends and people. Just trying to get in like some of these nooks and crannies. I mean, most of this is good. What I have to do is go over it with a wash a little bit. I mean, I already started to go over some of the joints with a wash, but... And then sometimes I do this a lot. I'll paint certain elements like gray, and then I'll kind of think about it and be like, maybe this should be a silver detail. So I kind of like switch it up, change my mind. And a little bit of dry brushing, but like, see, that's cool. That's a nice like focal point now. Because I gave it a little bit of a silver shine. What do you guys think of our orc? He's pretty much done. I mean, we did the checkering on him. I gotta obviously do a little bit more on the sword. I want to develop that a little bit more. But he's pretty much ready to go. And then we'll start to paint his other squad buddies. So please stay tuned for future streams where we will be doing that. I just want to make this, yeah. So we have a very distinct line. So when I do the detail on that, it'll look. We'll get a yellow screen. Captain Mike Sparrow, hello. How are you? Oh, okay. I think this is the Mike that was a judge. What's up, Mike? Think. I'm gonna guess. I'm assuming. What's up, Mike? Welcome. Painting some custom orc marines because I'm an insane man with Warhammer tendencies. Oh, he's got the Buddy Christ. He's got Buddy Christ. I love it. I am very pleased to have joined your Discord server. I can't wait to jump on and talk. And contribute. I'm a huge fan. I own every one of those movies. Oh, thank you, Mike. Yeah, so the idea is, so the story of this troop, and I'm going to use this as a natural break for me to start to straighten up. Yeah, I have to just tweak it a little bit, but so yeah, the idea here is that these are, like I said, orc space marines. So they have basically killed a bunch of space marines, stole all their stuff, and are now going through the wilds of space robbing people. That is basically the idea. So we have a unit of I have a unit of regular space marines, and they're all orcs. And you can see they all have a very distinct, very orky orange, yellow, and red color palette. Orc space pirates. Yeah, they're essentially orc space pirates. Which the comic I will be working on that is going to be inspired by these guys, because there will be a graphic comic that will be up. Orc Space Pirates is actually what they're going to be called, because I can't call them Orc Space Marines, or GW will come find me in my humble abode and probably give me some sort of cease and desist letter. So I will be obviously redesigning and stylizing these guys so they don't look exactly like a Space Marine, but they will be inferred to look like Space Marines. But yeah, so we have the regular squad, and this is the captain. He's followed by a few others who we have not painted yet. So if you want to see more of me painting these, stay tuned and definitely be following us. And thank you, Captain Mike, for the follow. But yeah, you definitely want to come back, because this is the squad of regular Marines. And then I took an entire squad of Terminators, which they have a Terminator captain, which isn't here. I already painted him. But I made an entire Terminator troop of orc space pirates. My favorite is this guy. He literally has the knife that he killed the other Space Marine with in his back still. And he just slipped the armor on. He really didn't care about the knife because he's a crazy orc. You can see they've run extra wiring to try to make all this stuff work, because probably it broke. They've grafted on like other hardware on top of it with wiring to try to jumpstart the armor, because they probably broke it while killing the guy that was inside of it. You can see they added exhaust pipes to some of them. So, you know, it's very orky things orcs do when they have free time, right? And then my favorite of the troop that I've done is, most people might not know this, but when you buy the Leviathan box, it comes with a Dreadnought, and your eyes do not deceive you. There is an Gretchen or Goblin hardwired into the Dreadnought, so he can never leave it. He is now always a giant Dreadnought. So that is our orc. You can see they've spray painted and written orc symbols on it. You know, put some orc graffiti, made it look like a crazy Killacan. So that is the orc Space Marines. I plan on doing a lot more custom crazy stuff like this, so I do appreciate everybody coming and taking a look. Oh my god. You are very, very welcome. Yeah, I figured I'd bring out the whole troop. I like the story lore for these guys you've done, and the kit bash. Yes. Oh, I do. Every time I do kit bashes, there's always a story. There's always like a story reason for the kit bash. I'm a big fan of that. So I've done that with all my kit bashes. Like, again, if you take a look at my website, you'll see an early version of Nagesh, the Nagesh that I made, but that has a story behind it. The dragon from the Stormcast Eternals, if you're an AOS player, that has a storyline behind it. I made him have magical damage, and I made him have damaged armor and like all kinds of stuff, but there's a story behind why that happened. And it has to do with my entire Stormcast Eternal army, because I'm doing a different paint scheme with them, where the Stormcast Eternal army that I'm painting, they're stationed at the edge. They're essentially, this is going to sound like Lord of the Rings, because it's basically GW's version of Lord of the Rings, but they're stationed at the edge of where death. So the Lord Nagesh is the god of death. They're stationed literally where his domain begins. So normally when people think of Stormcast Eternals, for anyone out there that's familiar with AOS, just do a big raise hand in the chat if you know what I'm talking about. If you don't, I can do a brief explanation. But Stormcast Eternals, for people that know AOS, they're always depicted in gold armor. It's usually Retributor gold. It's very shiny. Always gold, shiny, blue. Capes. So they have a very distinct color scheme. But my Stormcast Eternals are all black with red capes because they are stationed where Nagesh is. They're stationed where Nagesh is, so they no longer have the light, the celestial light, since they're from the realm of light. And the only thing that's light on them anymore is their weapons. So they charge all of their light, all of their like. Okay, that's cool. Yeah, so my Stormcast Eternals are a specific faction. They're actually, you can find that faction it's in an issue of White Dwarf. So I painted the entire army, or I am painting the entire army with black as the armor, red as the capes, and then gold accent, but it's like Balthazar gold, so it's the rustier. So basically, so they look like their light has been taken away, and they've only channeled their light into their weapons to fight Nagesh. And it also helps them because they're in a realm of darkness. So they've sort of lost some of their grace. And then I did the same thing with the dragon. So now the dragon is stuck there, and the dragon has gotten magically wounded, maybe even magically wounded by Nagesh. So I used the, as I said, the more rough and tough dragon head that has a big giant magical wound on the side. So the thought was that he was battling Nagesh because they're both magic, very heavy magic users. So they battled each other. He got a magical scar. His armor is all tattered. It's broken. It's not, again, just this whole idea of the storyline of like my Stormcast Eternals have lost their grace. Because maybe they've had to resort to doing weird stuff because they're fighting Nagesh and holding back darkness, essentially. That's how I envision that story. So yeah, all my kit bashing always has a. I try to have a story or a reason. Behind the kit bash. I love it. And then obviously they've changed. When I was painting this, obviously the idea is that they've changed all of the signets to either skulls or green because they're orcs. Iron Fist Luna orcs. That's funny. Yeah, and the idea of the paint is, again, they just started spray painting the armor to make it more like orc-like, and you can see that they've like wrapped that spray around, and it's like half. But for a trained eye, you can actually see that they've done half of their foot spray painted yellow and blue too. But for a very trained eye, if you've been playing Warhammer for a long time, I always say the real inspiration of where this comes from is this is the way like Era 1 Space Marine armor looked. And it was on the box art, it was on the White Dwarf of the time. So it was all on there. And this is what your like Space Marine would look like. It actually had very vibrant colors, because they didn't have Ultramarines at the time when they were introduced at the very beginning. Or close to like the first couple of editions of the game. So I kind of took inspiration from that, but it's funny that it just works for an orc aesthetic if you have orcs as your inspiration for this. And while we're on the subject of cool things, which we will also work on, figured I would share another project that I have not finished yet, especially for newcomers but this is the larger Tyranid model that came out recently, and I kit bashed this slightly. I actually changed the positioning of it, so I kind of broke some of the model to make it actually more upright, so it would look more fierce, because I hate the way that the model looks from GW. It actually makes the model all turned down. He's very like hunching. I wanted him to be really up. I moved the position of the arms so that they were like more attacking. And I put a little Space Marine that's getting impaled on the end. The reason he has not been painted yet is I have to figure out what faction he's from. I've yet to figure that out. But my favorite part of this little story is that, so going back to storylines when I do kit bashes, he was basically trying to tell them, look out, which is why his finger is up in the air. And obviously he did not make it. And for anyone at home that's wondering, he is still alive on the end of that. So, but I thought that that was a really cool detail, because I didn't want to just have a boring Tyranid model. I wanted to have something that was crazy and horrifying. Now, this in my Tyranid army, some people may be looking at this and going like, holy crap, this thing is like the most, it's got like tons of colors. So in my Tyranid army, all of the Tyranids are different like generations or birthings of Tyranids. So they have different color coding, and the longer or larger units that are older, so the older units, aka the older models that are not updated, have the more traditional Tyranid coloring, but anything that's new has like a new color palette or a new coloring, almost like they're evolving. So the newer models or the newer units are like a newer generation of Tyranids. So, speaking of storylines for kit bashing, oh man, I know I'm just like talking now, but I'm probably gonna go because my voice is starting to go. I didn't fix her. For all my Marvel fans out there, there's Squirrel Girl. As I drop her on the table. I have to fix her face. That's why she has white on one side of her face. Let me get the closer camera, because you're not going to be able to see that. But there's Squirrel Girl. I love that they've made Squirrel Girl in Marvel Crisis Protocol. It makes me so happy that that is a real thing. I'm going to just do that really quick, because I'm like, she needs just the bottom of her mouth painted. I know, for all the Warhammer people, they're going to be like, he's showing a Marvel Crisis Protocol model. Why is he doing that? They're going to be like, I'm getting out of here. I have to figure out what color her eyes are. She doesn't look terrible, but I do have to figure out what color her eyes are. I forget in the comic books what color they are. I think they're red, but I'm just trying to do little fixes on things, because I'm like, I'm probably gonna get going soon. I'm just pulling out like every model that's next to me. This is really fun. The chat has gone silent. Here's Oogie Boogie for all my mirror for Disney fans that also play Mirrorverse. This is an Etsy model I got a long time ago, which may or may not be used in a multiverse campaign, but I do have to finish Oogie Boogie at some point. I think this model is amazingly cool. Well, look right here. Yes, he is good. But I'm gonna get going. My voice has had it. But yeah, so if you want to see more of Boogie Boogie, you want to see more Marvel Crisis Protocol, you want to see more. Yeah, I'll definitely be. I probably won't be on tomorrow because it's gonna be New Year's Eve. Um, or I should say later today. But I will definitely be streaming on Monday, New Year's Day, because that would work out. And we'll just be back to probably our normal schedule again. I tend to start around 11 o'clock for anyone that's out there. That's in the States, East Coast time. Yeah, we'll be. I'll be out on. I'll be out on Monday. I'm gonna get a lot of other things primed. We're gonna work more on the space orks, and we'll get a lot more done. And hopefully my voice will be in better shape. So, thank you all for following. Thank you all for checking in. Again, as always, please sign up for notifications. Follow the stream if you haven't. Check out our About page. You can check out all my other social media on there. Thank you for the smooches. I think that's the smooching gorilla. Awesome, man. Well, thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you at the next video. Take care, everybody.